Hello and Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Talk. If you like our video, please like, please subscribe, please share our video. It would mean the world to us. Today, we have a very special guest with us here tonight. We have Dr. Bilal Ahmad Sheikh, who is one of the leading private practitioners of Lahore. He graduated from the Demont College of Dentistry and then he went for his post-graduation to King's College in Prosthodontics, the number one dental college of the world currently. He currently practices and is the managing director of Boulevard Dental Practice. He is a fellow of the FADI, of the FICOI. He has also been a part of a Swiss implant in Canada by the name of Biodenta. He is also currently the co-chairman of the IADS Center along with Dr. Khurram Ataullah, and he leads Lahori undergraduate dentists who come to learn from him in his continuing education courses from all around Pakistan. He is one of the finer private practitioners of Lahore, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sure he had to tell us a whole lot more about how private practice is so important in a dentist's life and how business management part of dentistry is something that is not taught at an undergraduate level. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Bilal Ahmad Sheikh. Hello and Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Alhamdulillah, I'm very good. Enjoying
Sir?
a bright sun.
That's perfect. How's the quarantine life going, sir?
To be very honest, here in Canada, we've not had quarantine as per se.
Yeah.
But the situation has been that since they decided to do the so-called lockdown, it's been about responsible citizens.
Absolutely.
So they say self-isolation. There hasn't been an area of quarantine as per se.
Mm-hmm.
But they just ask the citizens, people who fly into Pearson, they passed a law saying that there is a mandatory 14-day self-isolation,
Right.
which means a camera or a tracker to you, they just ask you to stay home and isolate yourself for protecting your own community. And people are actually pretty decent here, pretty law-abiding. Okay. So it works pretty.
That's amazing. So with your permission, sir, should we start the interview?
Absolutely, by all means, please.
Absolutely. Okay. So my first question to you, sir, let's go a bit back in time. Let's talk about your initial years as a dentist. Let's talk about how you got into dentistry and how were those undergraduate years of yours in PDS?
Well, my first exposure to dentistry as a field came as a patient, actually. Okay. I was a school-going kid in London, and way back in the late 70s. Mm-hmm. And we had a notice that came from the school. There was a dental inspection to my father. There was a letter that came that, Mr. So-and-so, we've done a preliminary exam on your son, and he needs to visit a dentist, and his appointment is set on such and such day.
Okay.
So, all right, fair enough. My dad took me to the local dentist, and they actually ended up doing some dental work for me. Okay. Now, this is 1979, 1980, one of these years.
Okay.
And I had 2 amalgam fillings put in those times, and I still have both of those fillings in my molars to date from 1980.
Amalgam.
And my experience with that dentist was actually phenomenal. He was a great guy and very, very accommodating, very caring, keeping in mind I was a kid. So I said, well, this is a profession that one should think about.
Yeah.
And that went as time went by. Yeah. The culture, we're just 2 brothers. My elder brother is an electrical engineer. And you know how the Pakistani cultures are, that
Absolutely.
Mothers want that one child should be a doctor and the other should be an engineer. Or a lawyer, one of these things.
Yeah.
So as my brother was an engineer, my mom wanted me to become a medical doctor.
Right.
And when I got admitted in dentistry, I was actually enjoying life on the islands of the Maltese Islands.
Okay.
And my dad said, look, I think you've had enough fun in life, so come on, let's get you back to Pakistan and let's get you into dental school. And that's how my journey started in dentistry. My seniors in that time, who are now, of course, very renowned people, names like Dr. Samir Qazi. He was 2 years senior to me, Dr. Noeen Arshad. So these are, people who, when we came into dental school, they were these shining stars, even as students.
Wow.
And they were sort of an inspiration.
Okay.
school,
Mm-hmm.
we had something that I think revolutionary towards dentistry. We had the induction of people like Dr. Nazir Yazdani, Dr. Adnan Shah, Dr. Khalid Almas, Dr. Asif Ali Shah,
Wow.
and
Wow.
Dr. Shaikh from Australia. So these are all foreign people, and Dr. Mohsin in Prosto. And there were these like 3-4 people who came into Prosto, like Dr. Nazir, Dr. Asif Shah,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Mohsin. They were all there. And of course, Dr. Khalid Almas, is an internationally renowned, known periodontist. So these people came when we were in third year of dental school, when we started third year.
Yeah.
Now, they changed our whole perspective and outlook with things. They came with foreign qualifications. They came with foreign exposure. They were young people. They were energetic. They were enthusiastic. And I think they inspired a lot of us. We also had, as a teacher, Dr. Farzana Rahman in orthodontics. So these are people who were very well qualified.
Yeah.
And they inspired a lot of us to, excel and do more than what the routine run-of-the-mill protocols were at that time.
So, sir, you did your postgraduate in prosthodontics from King's College, but we have to ask, what made you choose this specific field, and why not any other field? And what are your views on other fields of dentistry?
Like I mentioned a little earlier, that in our undergrad dental program, what's the one thing that you generally do most? Prosto.
Prosto lab work, absolutely.
The quotas of prosto and the labs and things, and I would spend hours to end in it. And we had this setup of complete denture exercises, and again, I would do this with 3 different supervisors. And each of them in my quota book, I still have that little book with me with the signatures and the comments of Professor Tariq Zaman. So he ranked and gave me sort of like, 89 out of 100 and wrote very good, and I've never seen such a fine level of work before.
Wow.
And so it was things like these that, just kept giving you a little bit more inspiration. And Prosto keyboard, we did a lot of Prosto work in our times. And that's the basic reason I ended up doing Prosto. I applied in a lot of programs. I got into 4 different programs.
Wow.
I'd gone on a trip, on an academic searching trip to UK and the US way back in '98. And I had applied to a lot of programs, and a lot of these programs would just say, yeah, we will consider you, we'll see. But when I went in to do personal interviews, I got accepted in each and every one of them. I got into an endodontic program at Eastman Dental.
Yeah.
I got into the Prosto program at Guy's and King's and St. Thomas's, which is, of course, King's College now.
Yeah.
And I got into NYU Prosto program. I got into a 2-year aesthetic and contemporary restorative program at UCLA. But unfortunately, the fee structure of that program was, about $60,000, and I didn't have that kind of money. And so all these factors kind of sort of nudge you back. I grew up as a kid in London. UK has been kind of a second home to me for many years. And I was familiar with the system, the places, the people. And so I chose to actually go into that program.
Perfect. Okay, so after doing your postgraduate in prosthodontics back in the day, when such postgrads were so scarce, why did you not seek an academic position at any institution and rather went directly into private practice?
Yeah, you're actually treading on tricky ground. Just like the run-of-the-mill things happen. I had applied to Public Service Commission. We all wanted to go into government service and so on and so forth. And when I took the Public Service Commission exam, I was 6th in all of Pakistan, as in merit-wise.
Yeah.
And the requirement of the so-called rule was that the first 5 positions would go to people in Demont in Lahore. The next 5 would go to Nishtar Dental, and so according to merit, I should have appointed somewhere in the dental section in Nishtar. But they posted me somewhere in the rural areas of Saiwal. And
Wow.
so I said, okay, well, fair enough. So a friend of mine, Dr. Dildar and Dr. Essen, they had nearby postings. So we all got up and we went there. And unfortunately, when I went there, I found out that I was being paid about 4,500 rupees for a month. And the residence for the dentist was occupied by one of I will not name ranks or things for all obvious reasons, was occupied by the wife of some official, and she was
Wow.
running a school there.
Okay, wow.
And so the guy said to me that, if you can sort of like have your connections and have them removed, you can use the residence. And I said, look, I can't stay in a hotel here or something in the outskirts of Farooqabad or Silawali, one of these places. And he said, okay, what you can do for me is, and now this is, me giving reporting at one of the offices there. And the guy said, look, you can come here for 15 days and you can stay away for 15 days. And, we can work a formula out from your salary on how that's going to work out. Obviously
Wow.
what that means.
Yeah.
And I started doing the math and I said, well, you want me to give you half of my salary and live 15 days here? And that was a real put off. And I just tore my, sort of like
Contract.
papers of, contract or orders, as you call them, as appointment orders. And I said, look, you keep your job, I ain't interested. And I walked away from that. And from that time onwards, I just said, no academia, no government jobs, no colleges, and there's no concept of private dental schools or colleges as it. And later on, many times people have asked me to come in and join. And I said, look, if you can assure me minus the so-called politics, I'll be happy to join in. And I think I don't regret my decision to stay into private practice one bit. If I had to do it all over again, I'd probably just do it exactly the same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. Okay. So, sir, we know that you're such an accomplished dentist. You've practiced, you have Admiral Solutions, you head IADS, co-head, with all your credentials as a dentist. What do you think the future holds for you? Like, do you think you've reached the peak of your profession, or do you still want more from it?
Actually, this is, you're asking the wrong person at the wrong time. I think that dentistry has been very, very kind to me. And let me give you a small example of a meeting I had with one of our very senior and accomplished dental surgeons, Dr. Mughis Beg. He heads the University of Lahore.
Yeah.
And we were together on a lecture, doing a continuing education course on some laser trainings.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to lecture the next following day at his university, at his college, to the house officers and final years. There was some lecture on implant prosthodontics. And so he said something to me. He said, Bilal, for the first 10, 15 years of your profession, you struggle to strive and reach a particular level. And the next 10 odd years, you actually reap and take away from the profession. And then once we've put in about 25 odd years, now we have a debt. And the debt is to give back to the profession. So I think I've reached that point where, putting in and taking out the profession is over and done with. And I want to, and my inspiration, my thought process was that by the time I'm 55, I'm like 50 now, I wanted to retire, or I still want to retire or semi-retire. And if I look back, I think God has been extremely, extremely kind to me. One has to thank all the blessings and everything that one has to the blessings of God, to the prayers of your parents, and of course, a lot of your own hard work. But what does one aspire in life? If we just break it down, and I'm just going to deviate a little from dentistry, from any professions. So we want that, one should grow up to have a decent education. So alhamdulillah, managed to do that, get into a professional degree and a program. One wishes to actually get into a decent job. So for the 25 odd years of my life, I've worked in very decent practices and places. more or less the high-end ones throughout.
Absolutely.
So I guess as far as my personal journey towards achieving something is concerned, alhamdulillah, that's all I can say. Coming back to the profession, at this point in time, I think really dentistry isn't bringing in anything at this point in time that really inspires or aspires me. But that doesn't mean that you people don't have to work and get towards that place. And it doesn't come easy.
Absolutely, nothing comes easy.
When people ask me on regarding what and how we should excel in things and what should we do, I tell them one thing, that whatever you do, persistence and perseverance is the key essence of everything.
Absolutely.
Whatever you do, set a goal, set a target, and then work getting towards it.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, young graduates like yourself and others who, when they graduate, they say, okay, we will think what to do once we graduate. We usually don't have a roadmap. With the new private colleges, things are getting better. That career planning courses and protocols have been put in, but still, I think our students and our graduates are pretty unaware of what their options are in the world.
Absolutely. Okay, so sir, this leads us to another very important question. If a dentist, if a fresh graduate wants to stay in Pakistan, what would you recommend? FCPS, post-graduation, or private practice? Now, you being a private practitioner, you obviously would have a bias, but we would like to know the pros and cons of both in your opinion.
Yeah, I think the startup of FCPS is a wonderful opportunity for people, especially those who are, for family reasons, for financial reasons, they are bound to actually, or other reasons, that they're bound to stay within Pakistan. I think it's an excellent platform. And the CPSP has evolved and come a long way. I know my own partner, Professor Khurram, he heads the perio department at Fatma Memorial, and he was the first person who was, and he started the perio FCPS program for the first time in Pakistan. And he's got the first 2 batches of people who have graduated, and this is a huge contribution towards excelling this profession, to this speciality within Pakistan. So yes, FCPS is a wonderful thing. Now, we get a lot of people who come as observers at our clinic, who come as people to intern, and they all ask, sir, what should we do? Kya kare hum? And I say, I wish I was like one of these Peer Saab, and I would sit on a chair and say, वो आगा खान की तरह तुम डेंटिस्ट्री में ऑर्थो कर लो, तुम ओरल सर्जरी कर लो, तुम रेस्टोरेटिव कर लो, कम्युनिटी कर लो. This is a very, very multi-layered question, and if you want, I can address some of the key points in it. And for girls, it's a little different. For boys, a little different. Why I say it's a little, and I don't mean to be gender biased at all. I'm just talking about the dynamics of what nature does. And that is that somewhere along the line, in our culture, in our society, there is that limitation of what your parents, what your husband or future husband or in-laws will actually allow you even to do, what your motherhood allows you to do, what your priorities and what your end result is. It all boils down to the fact is that whether you have the resources to do something, whether you have the inclination to do and pursue something, and do the opportunities open up. Now, let me give you an example. I will not give names, of course. There's this 2 junior friends of ours, and they got into advanced standing dental programs in one of the very reputed universities in the US. And they both got, the husband and wife, they both got the programs. But for some reason, in that time period, they were unable to get the US visa. And their whole life and their whole plans changed.
Absolutely.
So they had to redirect what they wanted to and can do, despite having the resources, despite having the admissions, despite having given the interviews, doing the American Dental Board Part 1 and 2. Still,
Absolutely.
it's a consideration. So things are pretty multi-layered, and you have to address all of these issues. How long do you want to work? Where do you want to work? Do you want to be a researcher? Do you want to be an academician? There's a very good friend of mine, Shaikh, and he's here in Canada. He's faculty in one of the universities, a very able academician and researcher. So we get to see all these articles coming on bone research and growth factors and so on and so forth. And so he is into that.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's fine, and that's wonderful. We can't all be clinicians, we can't all be academicians, we can't all be researchers. So you have to see your own inner inspiration. And I ask and I tell each and every person, where do you want to see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years from now? This one question every graduate or graduating student in dentist should ask themselves. So where do you want to see yourself? In 5 years, do you want to see yourself have a clinical setup? Do you want to be in a group practice? Do you want to be in a university setting where you're doing, for example, like I will give the example of my friend and colleague, Professor Khurram. He is an academician and a clinician. Dr. Nasir, he's an academician and a clinician. So he does college in the daytime. He comes and has his own private practice in the evening. So every person has a different inclination and an aptitude as well. And as far as intellect and aptitude is concerned, they may be innate. They may be something that you're God gifted with a certain talent thing. But there's one thing that's always constant in all of these things: hard work, persistence, perseverance. Lage raho.
Yeah. Perfect.
They will always yield better results in the longer run. And there is no shortcut to hard work.
Okay. So, sir, how has your experience been as a private practitioner? You're one of the more successful private practitioners of Lahore. So, is it something that you learned over time, the business management aspects of dentistry? And what would you advise to a new clinician who wants to start a new private practice? And what makes a good dental entrepreneur?
Let me ask you a quick question before I answer that question. And if you, as a fresh graduate, you graduated, let's say you've graduated this year or a year or so ago. So your brother or your sister or mother or some of the cousins want to get a dental procedure done from you. Will they come and have it done from you?
No.
Most likely, what you yourself will be doing is that you'll say, oh, no, let me take you to one of my seniors. He's a wonderful clinician.
Absolutely.
He's a very good academician. He's a very good clinician. So I'll refer you to this and I'll take you there, and you'll call up one of your seniors or friends. So when you graduate, the government of Pakistan and the PMDC gives you a license to practice. Is that license, in your own individual opinions, good enough for you to start your own independent practice?
Absolutely not. No, you're right.
So unfortunately, it's not that the West is way ahead, but they're still better off than us. So what needs to be done is that getting into private practices, remember that after about 15, 20 years of your work, it should be that you say, well, I have 15 years of clinical practice. And it should not be that I have 1 year of clinical practice 15 times over.
Wow. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if we just graduate freshly and we start doing our own, we don't evolve to learn how we need to do things. And we're probably making those mistakes and doing them wrong over again. Hence, I would encourage that every new graduate, if they want to go into private practice, they should start for a few years as associates with other senior clinics and people. Now, when observers and internees come into our clinic and our practice, they haven't seen so much of the materials even.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let alone, the procedures and protocols. So yes, you learn these over time. Coming to your other part of the thing, the question regarding practice management. Yes, we have to learn to be good managers as well. Um, at the end of the day, we forget, we tend to, when I had my first so-called interview for a job, I was asked, hey, what are you looking for? And I said, well, I want to make a decent amount of money out of it. And my first boss, he said, well, okay, I appreciate your honesty in this regard. And I said, well, none of us joined dentistry because we wanted to starve
Yeah,
and just do things only for humanity. We can earn a decent living by doing good ethical practice. And there is
absolutely.
absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
Sure, earn money, earn it with honesty, with integrity, with ethics.
Yeah,
So
perfect.
learning to be good businessmen and practice managers is also very essential.
Absolutely.
And again, I strongly recommend people who want to go into private practice, they should shadow. They should join as interns, as associates. And once they have a couple of years of experience, they also, इसका एक और advantage ये है कि doing 1 or 2 years of internship or associate. Now, our associate who was working at Boulevard Dental Practice just 3 days ago just landed in Chicago. And he is now doing a 3-year perio program at Case Western. He'd
Wow.
already done a 1-year a program there. And the other one of our other associates is into an advanced standing DDS program here, Dr. Zohair. He's at University of Toronto.
Yeah,
Brilliant people, and we'd love to see these people grow and evolve. And it's because that they actually came into a setting. And I know a lot of practices end up doing that to give you an inspiration or a feel of what to do and what your interest and your capabilities and your aptitudes are.
yeah.
So yes.
Okay. So, sir, we're moving towards the end of our interview. Now, this is one
Mhm.
question that my team wanted to ask you. Firstly, how did you manage to keep this persona with this, you have long hair and this personality of yours?
Truth be told, what started happening was that a lot of my contemporaries and my friends started thinning of their hair and getting bald lines. And I said, damn, so we're all going to probably go bald in another 5-10 years. So I said, okay, so why not wear some longer hair? And I used to keep them till about hair for a while. And when I did wear them a little longer, it seemed to have caught on to people. And people say, oh, okay, it suits you. It looks good. It looks all right. Oh, you look good. And that's how it just actually got caught on.
Right.
And I still remember we went for an FDI conference in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this chap, a local laser distributor guy who took me to his, there's this Photona laser, to his stall in Dubai. And the head of that stall was a German lady. So, they were introducing, oh, this is Dr. Bilal from Pakistan, we're thinking we're doing a thing about lasers and blah, blah. And so before we started going into the specifications of that particular Nd:YAG laser, she asks me, she says, Doc, are you a dentist or a rock star musician? I said, well, I'm a guitarist. I do dentistry as a hobby. And she says, excuse me? I mean, isn't it the other way around that you're thinking you do things? Actually, I don't do any rock starring or guitaring at all. I was just making fun conversation. I said, well, everybody does that. I thought I'll do it the other way around. And it's just something that just caught on, and I decided to actually keep it. And they've gone actually pretty long now.
They look good. They do
The
look
barbers are all closed at this point, so we can't go to the barber shop even.
Yeah.
Although my wife is pretty happy to chop it off.
Okay.
But yeah,
So,
I guess, and then it just stuck to me. So
okay. So last question. Any advice for us, sir? What do you think about the startup of ours, and any advice that you would like to give us?
I think you guys are doing a wonderful job. I know everybody likes to say that for official statements, but honestly, I know there is one other group of Pakistani dentists, and there's a duo group who are in the US in two different, one's graduated and one's in a dental program. And they've started doing these kind of webinars and educational things for dentists. But I think Pakistan needed something of this sort. We need to actually start reflecting ourselves, our
Absolutely.
profession towards the West. Here in Canada, I have a small a business as well. It's called Admore Solutions. It's a healthcare consultancy by which I actually encourage people towards expats, Pakistanis living in Canada and in other parts of the world, to get medical and dental treatment done in Pakistan. So medical tourism as per se. And we, in our past years, have had many issues of, the label of unsafe countries, don't visit Pakistan. But that image is actually changing. I say this to a lot of people that the advent of, or the cropping up of private dental schools has actually helped boost the level of and the respect of dentistry within the national and international level.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
How I say that is that affluent people's children started going into dental schools. Now, paying a private dental school is quite expensive. So only those who can actually afford it. And when they actually graduate, they have the bulk of the resources to either start up a decent clinic or go and get themselves trained abroad. So yes, this whole image needs to be promoted. This needs to be propagated. And if you guys have taken the initiative, hats off to you guys. So I wish you all the best, and don't sort of like get disheartened by a little bit of bumps in the road. Remember that life is an ongoing uphill struggle. And the sooner we realize that, I was just listening to a clip of Imran Khan just the other day, and I think he was talking when Pakistan was going digital. And he said that, the moment your struggle in your life stops is when your decline will start.
Yeah.
So you got to keep at it. And that's what we were all sent here for.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing a wonderful job. Keep it up. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out for us from your busy schedule. It meant a lot to us.
You're welcome.
You gave an amazing interview. Thank you so much, sir.
You are most welcome. I hope I can be of any help. And of course, we are on touch on the social media otherwise. And if I can be of any help in any way, I'll be happy to. So absolutely. I'm honored, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. Take care and stay safe.
You're welcome. You too. All the best.
All the best to you. Allah Hafiz.
Bye-bye.